afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alyssa Corum here. I'm joined by Ed Carson, and on today's show, we're going to take a look at the major indexes and also three stocks with some pretty good-looking charts, Ed.
That's right, Allie. We're going to take a look at Intuitive Surgical, Qorvo, and Monolithic Power.
All right, great. First, a look at the major indexes. Here's the Nasdaq, which gained about 0.5% on Tuesday. We had the S&P 500 close down 0.2%, and the Dow down about 0.7%. So we have a really nice day of outperformance for tech stocks, following up on a really impressive close by the Nasdaq yesterday. What's your take?
Yeah, I think today was a fine day. Yesterday was, not every day can be as exciting as yesterday. Not that yesterday was that exciting, but we rebounded from lows, had a nice day, and really we've sort of closed sort of tightly the last few days, which is actually probably for the best. Lets the moving averages catch up a little bit, and fairly positive action. There was some positive action in the growth air stock, so. It may quiet down in the coming days as some people go on vacation, but I think that we're just looking pretty good heading into the end of the year.
We are. It's been quite a year, hasn't it, Ed?
Yes, it has.
We've had a little bit of everything, but a lot of good, I think. But let's take a look at a couple of individual stocks. We're still seeing some good action. ISRG among them, and we even have the blue dot here for that relative strength line on this breakout today in this base on base formation. I guess you could say the stock gaining about 3.3%. And Ed, I feel like you've been talking about this stock a lot in recent months as one to looking ahead with those elective surgeries coming back on after we get past this pandemic.
Well, partly it kept on teasing, and so I kept on coming up to these areas. As you can see, the last several months it's sort of been moving sideways, which isn't the best. But I guess in my mind, I've been thinking, well, maybe trying to think about what could be growth areas, but a little diversified from some stocks that might be extended. And I'm thinking that some of these medicals, and some medicals are doing well, that this one may be finally moving out. But that's one reason why I've looked at. The RS line is moved to a new high after the relative strength line had moved sideways for quite a while. So that's a positive. And today it was also the volume picked up. I think when I was talking about suggesting this, the volume was down, but there must have been a late burst of volume because it perked up. So that was positive.
Yeah, and looking ahead, we have a return to some strong bottom line growth. And also, Intuitive Surgical finished the day still within that 5% buy range from this 792.64 entry. And we have about a month until the next quarterly earnings report. So potentially, if the stock can continue to climb, enough time for investors to build a bit of a cushion ahead of that next quarterly report. And elsewhere, let's take a look at Qorvo QRVO in the chip space, now forming an ascending base as detected by our pattern recognition. This stock gaining about 1.3% today, and it was our stock of the day today.
Yeah, this one is riding the 5G wave. It's also a big iPhone chip maker, so that's a couple of good areas to be in. It really hadn't formed a base, and it turns out this whole time it was forming a base. The middle pullback was a 3 weeks tight, and it broke out of that, but then pulled back basically to the buy point. But that ended up being the third pullback in this ascending base. So it's acting pretty well, and I can see you pointing to the sort of the RS line. It's looking reasonably good. It's getting close to those highs, and it's been trending generally higher in 2020.
That it has. And Ed, just a little bit more guidance for our audience out there. Is today's action considered a chance to buy, or do we want to be waiting for this ascending base buy point here?
Yeah, you could be buying here. I spent like an early area. It's sort of popping up sort of in that very short-term area or downward sloping trend line. If you wanted to start a position here, and that's often the way it can be, and then maybe fill it out as it really breaks out.
All right. Yes, we are big proponents of scaling into those positions. It's not an all or nothing decision. And last but not least, let's check in on Monolithic Power, MPWR. Also in the semiconductor group, this stock forming a cup base here and recently was able to rebound off of support at this 50-day line.
Yeah, and that could have been an early entry, especially the next day when it sort of broke a trend line, got above the vertical, sort of two ways. You could go that way, or you could go sideways in that area, and that was sort of an early entry, getting above a lot of the situation. Now it's moving up toward a conventional buy point. Nice recovery because man, it was one of the big losers on that November 9th vaccine day that hit a lot of coronavirus plays, and because this is a data center chip maker, but nice bounce back in the last few weeks.
All right. So are you keeping an eye on cup breakout here potentially for Monolithic Power, or since there was this early entry, would a cup breakout feel a little too extended to you?
Yeah, that's always the case. It's not as bad as some of them that have come up a long way and haven't taken a break. And this has gone up a few days. So,
Hmm.
and cup bases definitely can work. It's just that there's a higher chance of a pullback along the way that could shake you out. It would be great though if it could form a handle right now. I mean, if it could form a handle right now, then all of a sudden, it would shake out those weak holders before the breakout, before you necessarily get into it, and that's always
Hmm.
nice to have it go, sort of straight up from there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We talked about that a little bit on IBD Live this morning. The fact that there are a lot of those cut bases out there and not that many handle shakeouts, but we'll have to see how those shape up in the weeks to come. There have been quite a few actionable opportunities in this recent run in the market, whether you're looking at aggressive entries, swing trade entries, traditional position trades, a little bit of everything. It's definitely been a really fruitful market in the breakout department. But then that leaves investors the question of, okay, well, where do we go from here? How much longer are we going to see these kinds of gains for growth stocks?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's really impressive actually because the indexes aren't surging like they were from April to September, but from a growth stock perspective, there's actually been a lot of really good winners in the last couple of months. It feels like April to September from those kind of stocks. But so yeah, and how much longer can it go? I don't know, but while it's going, you want to be taking part in it. That's
Mhm.
that's all we can say on that.
That's right. And speaking of the broader market, we're looking at that technical action for the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 every week to give us a little bit more added perspective of where we are in this trend. And it's those kinds of things that we discuss in detail. Typically on Fridays on this show, but also really in depth every morning on our daily morning live stream, IBD Live. We hope you join us. We recently added a poll feature, which I think has gone pretty well with the audience, kind of, choose your own destiny type situation. We're giving usually about 4 or 5 educational topics for the audience to choose from. And then we go a little bit in depth on that in the show each day. And it's been really great to get all of those educational nuggets from the panelists. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So we hope you join us over at investors.com/IBD Live. And one more thing, because I do, believe it or not, get just a few questions from people. Where's Allie? But I mean, it is the holidays. It's whenever I go on vacation. So I'm going to be off. But audience, you are left in very capable hands of Ed, Ken, Justin. They will be handling the show starting tomorrow until New Year's Eve when I make my return. Looking forward to seeing everyone. I was going to say in 2021, but I guess I'll be here for one more show in 2020, Ed.
That sounds good. We can wrap up the whole year. That is nice and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.